Welcome back to the Layman's Law School, where three Southern gentlemen sit around and talk about the issues of the day and try as best we can to explain some of the things that are going on in the legal sort of realm in the news. And today we're going to be talking about Clarence Thomas and impeachment. Fellas?
Well, before we get into anything, it's a tradition that we have here that we...
Such a heavy topic, and we definitely need to get something out of the way.
It's been a long week. It's been a tiring
Great
week.
Friday. We missed you the last time we had a podcast.
Yeah. Really, it went off the rails, with just me and Shawn.
Rumors are it's the most watched podcast of Layman's Law School ever.
Right.
So if you haven't watched it, get out there and watch it.
99% female interaction.
Correct.
Yep.
Look at us, for God's sake.
Yeah,
so
I know
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought, because I think that you kept running away and you wouldn't show up for the podcast because you're scared of the Bud Light, I brought you something a little different. This is a margarita, I don't know, something I found at the gas station.
You got a gozer for me.
There you go.
Reid.
There you
How
go.
sweet. This is my
I knew
favorite.
you would like it. Like, it's pink and green and all fruity colors.
In honor of Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. There you go. So... Don't get accustomed to it. Next week, Bud Light's coming back.
Cheers.
Look, he's never been the first one to take a sip. He's just going crazy on that thing.
He just doesn't.
That's nice.
He doesn't wince the same way when he takes a sip of that.
You know what? I did not enjoy that. I'm going back to Bud. I can't watch him enjoy that.
Thank you, Cigar City Brewing out of Tampa, Florida. We appreciate it.
Well, it'll be the last one.
Unofficial sponsor.
It'll be the last one. Bud Light will be back next week when you can really dive into her.
Guys, have y'all heard it all or seen it all? What's been going on in the news with Clarence Thomas?
I briefly heard about it, but it's, I've kind of brushed over it just because it's something to me that is unprecedented. I'm not aware of any Supreme Court justice that has ever been
removed,
censored,
impeached.
Impeached, or anything.
That's right.
And one of the reasons, and I'm sure you'll get into, Chace, is it's extremely difficult to have that happen.
But the standard is very difficult. And for all the, I guess, brilliance of the founders that, people attribute to them, the impeachment parts of the Constitution, they didn't really round out very well.
No.
And it didn't really make it very clear. And that allows for a lot of interpretation, but it also makes it very, very difficult to sort of meet the standards. I mean, as it should be. If a federal official is put in a place and it's in part done through the voters, in a Supreme Court justice appointed by the president, is actually confirmed by the Senate, they shouldn't be removed unless there's a really good reason for doing it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that little history of that process. And Shawn, kudos to sort of knowing your history. There has been no Supreme Court justice that has actually been removed before. There has been an associate Supreme Court justice that was impeached but not removed by the actual Senate. And you have to go back to 1805 for that to happen.
Do we even have associate Supreme Court justices now?
Not that I know of.
That was, I think, Vic told me about that. That was his first year in law school, matter of fact.
Yep.
God, I love throwing old jokes at Vic that I'll never hear.
Okay, so the impeachment, sort of the rights to impeach, and the process for impeaching
before you start, Trey, I think it's important to note, too, that if you're impeached, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're kicked out.
That's right.
And I think it's confusing to the general population in that, he's impeached, he's out. Not necessarily.
No. So in the first articles, or the section 1 of the U.S. Constitution, the Constitution assigns the right to bring impeachment to the House of Representatives. They bring articles of impeachment. Once it passes the House, then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate actually has the trial. We might have the population in the United States that is most familiar with the impeachment process of all time, with Bill Clinton and with what we went through with Donald Trump. Yeah, in the last.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Some of us remember Richard Nixon.
Yeah, and Richard Nixon actually he got off a little bit easy because he didn't have to go through the impeachment process. He actually resigned.
Well, I'm not to avoid it.
Yeah. Well,
that's the best impersonation I got.
Well, just so you know, this is being talked about, and I think it's important for us to note that this might be the 24-hour news cycle looking for some fodder, and the Democrats attacking what they believe to be an easy target. Clarence Thomas doesn't necessarily have a sterling history. When he was confirmed originally in the Senate, he went through the hearings where he had apparently, it was alleged that he had sexually harassed a staff member. What was her? Anita Hill, I think her name was. Yeah, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And was ultimately confirmed to the Supreme Court.
Had something to do with the Pepsi can. That's all
right.
Right.
And of course, this is the Democrats in the House that are bringing these allegations to Clarence Thomas.
It's just political garbage. I mean, we'll get into it.
But I want the people out there to know and understand first of all, like why this is happening, what the process is, and then what the likelihood that this is actually going to shake out in one particular direction or the other.
Right.
Because they're talking about impeachment. You're like, well, what does that mean? Impeachment sounds like, okay, well, somebody's going to get kicked out of their position. And right now, the Supreme Court actually decides a lot about the way in which our society operates, because they decide how the Constitution is interpreted.
Yep, sure.
He is a conservative member of the Supreme Court, and if he is removed, Biden gets to appoint his successor. And so they've brought these claims or the basis for these articles of impeachment based on basically his failure to disclose certain financial gifts, transactions, that type of thing. He has a very friendly relationship with a billionaire. I believe his name is Harlan Crow. And he's received basically trips on his yacht. He stays at his house, vacations, luxurious and very nice sort of gifts, I would say. But this is a person that has actually, when you talk about making it, you're a Supreme Court justice in the United States.
He's doing fine.
He's doing all right.
Yeah, he's not hurting. He doesn't need.
No.
Yeah.
He might be in the 1% of the 1%.
Right.
As far as power.
I don't think anything like that stuff swaying him one way or the other. He's and I don't like him or dislike him. I'm pretty impartial on my opinion to him, but any of Supreme Court justices, I mean, it's just, I would find it, it's hard for me to believe that with the success that those people have and the money that those people have, that they're swayed by a ride on a yacht. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm the judge and one of you two, has brought a lawsuit and I'm having to make decisions on it, you better take me off of there. Okay?
Sure.
Because we have a close connection.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Yeah. You got to recuse yourself, buddy.
And that's, these are all things that we need that
I can get some home cooking, I'm taking it.
And that's some of the things that have been actually leveled against Clarence Thomas. His connection to these billionaires, the companies that he owns, they've actually had lawsuits that have come before him, and he has not recused himself.
Right.
And when we talk about recusal, can we talk just plainly about what that means?
Recusal essentially is where it can go one of two ways. A judge can voluntarily recuse,
and usually
from a situation.
That's usually I would say that's the most common, don't you think? Mm-hmm.
Depends on where you're at. Yeah. Or either party could file a motion asking the judge to recuse himself.
Sure.
Which that motion then has to be heard by another judge. Mm-hmm. The judge who's being asked to recuse can't say, "Well, no, I'm not recusing." But what it is under most states, and certainly in Georgia, is judges operate under a judicial code of conduct. Mm-hmm. That is, you are to remain impartial and avoid any impropriety or the appearance of any impropriety or impartiality. So normally,
they usually err on the side of even if there's potentially could be, they usually err on the side of caution.
Or at least providing the parties with notice.
Yeah.
As in,
that's
Mr.
a good
Hall,
point.
Mr. Sanders, I want to let you know that this particular person who's involved in your case is one of my childhood best friends.
Right.
I'm going to tell you it's not going to have any weight on the case. I'm not going to voluntarily recuse myself because of his interest in the case.
Right.
But if either one of you would like me to, I'm happy to do it,
right.
Type thing.
It's kind of like if you have a conflict, and if we've represented someone and, the person that we represented sued a person in a car wreck, and then that person has a car wreck and comes to us. Well, there's a conflict, but if both people that are involved in the conflict say, I don't care, then you can go. Just because there's a conflict doesn't mean that you have to remove yourself.
Right.
As long as all the parties are good with it, that's fine.
Yeah, and I want people to understand too, like the role of the judge, and the role of the judge in the Supreme Court is quite different than a lot of judges out there. Number one, typically at the circuit level, state courts or even in the federal district courts, where you're actually trying cases and you have a jury that's actually deciding the facts of the case, the judge operates only really as an umpire.
Yeah,
he is there to call balls and strikes, to say when yes, that question is leading, no, it's not. I'm going to allow this evidence in.
He's enforcing the law.
He's enforcing the law, and that's it. He's not making any rulings about facts in the case. The jury gets to decide, who caused the accident. The jury gets to decide how much, in most cases, where there's a jury. So this is the problem with the law. Is there's always these exceptions. Right? You can ask for what they call a bench trial and have the judge decide the facts as well. But in most cases, they act as an umpire. When it comes to the Supreme Court, though, by the time it's gotten that high in our appeal system, they are deciding only issues of law and how law is to be interpreted.
They are deciding only issues of law that they want to decide.
That's true.
It's not just, okay,
I
automatically, I keep appealing, and eventually my case gets to the Supreme Court.
No.
It's that this thing you request certiorari, and they look at...
Explain what that is, Shawn.
It's you have some type of a constitutional issue that you want addressed, and you've gone through all the other appellate procedures through, whether it started in your superior court in your state or your state court, and then your appellate courts throughout your state, and you want this constitutional issue addressed, you basically send them a brief asking the Supreme Court to review this particular case or this particular issue, and you outline what the issues are, and they take a look at it and they decide, well, we
take it or not.
We don't have time to hear this one. This is an important issue, Or they say, no, this is an issue that a lot of places are having, or that no place is having, and this is a new issue that we need to decide and give some guidance to everybody on.
And generally, a lot of the cases, especially the ones that we hear about, the general public hears about, are cases that it's something new. It's something that is it's that hasn't happened. There's no case law on it. Now, there's still a code section that would apply to it, but it's something different. So you're going, how does it apply? Because it's never happened.
Yeah.
So all these other judges they're making new law. That's what, when they decide. So usually it's something like that. It's something new, something different.
Issues of first impression like that. And then you also have issues where everybody is deciding it differently.
Yeah.
Circuit splits.
Different states
these federal courts
are
saying this, these federal courts are saying this, and we need another umpire to say, we can't all be operating under a different system in the United States. Please tell us what to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And so that is part of the reason why this has sort of come to a head too, though, is because how much power is actually placed in the hands of these, few people.
It's quite
in our
a lot.
country. Right. It is quite a lot. And we have some very special rules that are designed to actually keep them impartial and out of politics, and that, they're appointed for life. Yeah. And what that's supposed to do is it's not,
what am I thinking of? The
donors.
Thank you.
Donors or partisan ideas. What they're supposed to be doing is they're almost like philosophers, in that they're supposed to apply a certain theory of
I would just
understanding of the law.
Interrupt you just to say that most of the people up there are absolutely philosophers. I mean, they are philosophers of the law, and that's why they're there.
Right. And I'll take it another step, Shawn. Same thing, Shane. If you put them and said try a case, they would do miserably. They would do awful.
Yeah. They're highly capable people.
Yeah, but that's not what they do. That's not the type of law that they do. And I know some of them have in the past, but I mean that's just they're students of the law for life. Yep. They're not necessarily practicing, so to speak.
Yeah, and those protections, okay, they do have limitations, and one of those is just this particular small couple of sentences that are put into the Constitution and allow for a lot of interpretations. For instance, what can you get impeached for? So if I think it's Section 2, if you look at like the types of crimes, is treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. High crimes. That's it.
And misdemeanors.
I mean,
So defining that.
If Clarence Thomas shoplifts,
jaywalks.
I was gonna say an $8 shirt, but I guess now it'd be like a $30 shirt with inflation. Can we bring the impeachment process?
I mean, I think there is some wisdom in putting that stuff in there. In that, for instance, if Clarence Thomas is arrested for possessing very, very small amounts of heroin and being high on heroin in public, 10 or 15 times.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah, but having him in charge of interpreting the Constitution might not be a good idea. Might not be a good look. But in this case, I think that what they're going after is the bribery angle of it, and it's just the optics. So for those of you that out there watching, the chances of him actually, I mean, we can put a bet on it, but I think we're all going to bet the same way. The chances of him actually being impeached based on the information that's out there today is slim to none. The influence I believe that particular billionaire may have over him, based on the fact that I think he, they went on some luxury vacations. He provided him a yacht.
Chace, does he have any? Does that guy have any cases or?
He has had cases before Clarence Thomas. Before,
not him individually.
I mean, his companies and all
companies that he's involved.
Yeah, and then Clarence Thomas has been a Supreme Court justice for years and years and years and years, and so the idea that this guy's going to go into some sort of 30-year process of establishing a friendship and thinking that a vacation here and there is going to work out for him, make somebody that is essentially a philosopher, that has basically based his life and devoted his life to the study of the law and applying it in a certain way, obviously cares about the United States, is going to make a decision that, based on, a couple of, what it's essentially trinkets, and
that's what I was going to say. It would be like you coming, or me coming to you, Chace, and me saying, I know we've got this client that we're supposed to be representing, but, the defendant driver in this case is a buddy of mine. I'm going to give you $5 if you'll just submarine this case for me. And you being like,
hell no.
You know what? Perfect.
Wouldn't happen.
I mean,
you wouldn't ask, and I wouldn't do it.
Correct.
And so this is, I think, I just wanted to point out to people out there, because I unfortunately, like we talked about it in the the Fox Dominion thing, that there are smart people preying upon people that are actually out there just trying to do their best, make a living, work their jobs, and they are not familiar with the rhetorical techniques to manipulate them in the way in which they vote or make a decision. And unfortunately, that has something that's been employed by our news organizations lately, and I don't know how to really fix that, because we do have the freedom of speech, and they're gonna, and we have the free market, the capitalist market, and so it's whatever actually gets.
What I heard, either heard or read the other day, that like over 85% of our media, whether it's print, television, internet based, is owned by like 5 companies.
Yeah, I think it's more than that actually. I mean, not the company. I'm telling you the percentage. I think it's higher than that.
So I mean, and these are companies that are for-profit companies.
Yes.
Looking for money, income, and an edge against one another, and that's who's driving the news.
And the best way to do that is to have conflict. Yeah, and this is kind of
conflict and content.
Yes,
Supreme Court justice might get impeached.
Right.
No, he's not going to get impeached.
I've looked, I don't know a ton on this specific thing. I'm kind of with you. I was like, it's not that interesting. But it was everything that I've seen is very ticky-tack. Mm-hmm. It's very, like you said, the $5 is not, nobody's.
Sure.
Whether you love Clarence Thomas or hate him, it's just outrageous to think that he's going to ruin his career and his legacy for a ride on a boat. It's just crazy.
Exactly. It'd be different if they said, here's real evidence that there was wire transfers to Clarence Thomas for $4 million and $2 million.
In an offshore bank account.
Yeah, I mean, but this stuff, is really like Chace said, trinkets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that's going to sway a person of that level of sort of accomplishment and integrity. He's, I may disagree with how he interprets the law.
Sure.
I may disagree with him about political issues, social issues, whatever it is. But I 100% respect the man's devotion to applying the laws as he sees it. He's a brilliant person. I've seen him speak, and I disagree with him, vehemently about certain things about the Constitution.
Right.
But he's not a bad person.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met a ton of people that he's one of them. That is, I recognize that he's smarter than me, and I think I'm smarter than I was when I was 20. Yeah. And I have and I have a lot of different opinions than my 20-year-old self. Yeah. And so sometimes when I look at those people,
some of them are very, very different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like when I see somebody that I recognize as being smart, I mean, this could be the 60-year-old me.
Is that how you see me?
Huh?
Is that how you see me?
70-year-old me. Well, I did have some clips I wanted you to. Okay. I was trying to switch gears here real quick. We have to provide content.
How about one of those Cinco de Mayo beers, because this Bud Light is empty.
And while you do that, I just can't help it, man. Every time, and I know this is wrong, but every time I hear Clarence Thomas, I just can't get the song Stroking out of my head.
Wow.
I'll be stroking.
Clarence Carter, and I say Clarence Thomas. Oh shit, Clarence Thomas. Oh my God. That's what I hear. I can't help it. It's just a great song, Anyway, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah, okay. So, Genuine, if you would, could you bring up, I want you guys to take a look at these, and Shawn, the first one might actually be a little bit more in your wheelhouse. We're going to react to these, and you're going to have to decide liability or whether or not anybody can be charged with a crime.
Not guilty. Just kidding.
Do you mind if I just pay in the front?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Oh, she fell for it, yo. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Would you mind being in a video?
No, that'd be fine.
Alright, so pick a number between 1 and 10.
Let's say 7.
7? Well, it's your lucky day. You just won brand new AirPod Pros.
Wow, you're kidding me. Really?
Yeah.
Free?
Yeah.
Why?
You won. Nothing, you won.
How come?
You win. Have a good one. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Just a jerk. I mean, Shawnee, what you got?
So, in that situation, police come. She's walked out the door. She didn't pay for that. She put it in her pocket. So, watching that, all right, the grandmother. Any charges coming?
You assume she's a grandmother. I mean, she's an elderly lady.
The older young woman.
Well, now you're assuming her gender.
Yep, I am. You better believe it. Okay.
The person who was provided the AirPods as a prize, it's very possible, based on if the person, loss prevention, asset protection, whatever you call it, associate for that business does not have the advantage of knowing this video, it's very possible that they could take out criminal charges against her for shoplifting, something like that. Knowing this information, right here, I would feel comfortable with taking out, criminal charges against this individual who shot the video.
Right.
And then obviously the person who was handed the AirPods as a prize, should they be arrested, is going to have a civil case against this individual YouTuber or TikToker or whatever he is because of the false arrest, the position that they put him or her in.
One of the claims that we always talk about that never exists in the real world,
intentional infliction of emotional distress.
That right there is
absolutely
100% intentional infliction of emotional distress.
And if she has to hire a defense lawyer to help her out of the criminal issue, guess who's going to be paying for that?
Yep,
absolutely. And then the damage to reputation.
Right.
I mean, even nowadays, like in Augusta, we have the jail report, Augusta crime, all these media publications that if you get arrested, your
face is up
somewhere.
there. Whether you're completely innocent like this lady was. She's still going to have her face as being arrested. Yeah. Let's say she's in a small town. She's the leader of her Bible study, all these things. Now she's arrested and her face is up there for shoplifting. Her reputation is going to be ruined. And no matter what comes out, it turns out, the charges are dropped. And it's on page 18 of the local newspaper. Nobody's looking at it. And even if she's found not guilty, and he or she is found completely not guilty, and he or she is completely innocent, there's going to be a lot of the population that just doesn't believe it. They just go, they're charged, they're automatically guilty.
The problem with things like that is the after effects are never really known to anybody.
Sure. Yes.
It's did you see that Miss Susan, the leader of the choir at church, was arrested for shoplifting?
Right.
There's the scandal. Yep. The decision by people in their minds is that we didn't know this person. Yeah. This person's a thief.
Right.
And then whether or not 6 months or a year later these charges are totally dismissed, that's the information that never gets out.
Yeah.
And we've had different podcasts on the guys that are the First Amendment warriors and all that stuff. These guys are just as bad. I hate these guys. This isn't a prank.
No.
I love comedy. I love picking at you and drinking the Bud Lights and all that, but it's in good fun. This is not good fun. This is, you could legitimately, and I hate to sound like an old man yelling at the sky, but you could legitimately hurt somebody. This is not funny. It's just not.
Imagine a person going to jail for something that they had no idea they did.
Right.
And a person of that age having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Panic attack that leads to a heart attack.
It happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't, all those, this new prank stuff, they're not pranks. It's just being unkind to people.
Yeah. And that's part of what the civil justice system is for. And is to make up for whatever is
corrective action.
Yeah. Caused by this kind of stuff.
I saw
and
one
the criminal
recently.
justice system is going to really come through and it completely exonerate this person, but it's the civil justice system that would have to actually come behind that and make up for, like you said, if she and she's known at her church for as being a thief now.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to toot our own horns, but this is why the world needs plaintiff attorneys, because the only way to stop this kind of action is to have plaintiff attorneys sue this guy.
Somebody's got to get spanked.
Yeah.
Is the way I always put it.
Right. Same thing, if you have a bicycle that is going to break.
Yeah.
If you can't sue these people that do that make the bicycle and hurt people, then they're never going to fix it.
They're going to keep selling it.
Right. So you have to have that check and balance. And plaintiff lawyers, I'm proud to be one. We sometimes get a bad rap in the general public, but this is the kind of crap that we stop.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today on the Layman's Law School. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Clarence Thomas. Oh, shit, Clarence Thomas.